different software program. Now we got the United States in the dark. Now here's some skip configuration. This is a little poor representation I put together of ground going, the skip going from your transmitter to the F layer, back down to the ground, back up the F layer, and back down to the ground. That's a fairly common condition. Okay. Here's another one where it's going up to the E layer, back down to the ground, and then back up to the F layer, depending on where the sun is, and depending on where the absorption of the D layer. This is going from the ground to the F layer, back to the E layer, back up to the F layer, and back down to ground. And those are different things that can happen. That's why you get different lengths of propagation sometimes. I've worked DX, and when you get working pile-ups, and lots of people are calling on the same time. I was working in Saudi Arabia the other day, and a guy's going out S7, S8, S5, 595 or whatever. And I call the guy and he says, "Holy, you're 40 over 9." It's just because I've taught the propagation right into that entity. And those are there for a little while. In the evenings, it's terrific for us to work. But now people wonder what's best to work. Is it best to work dark to dark, light to light, dark to light, whatever? Well, it depends. Again, it depends. But generally speaking, if you're working the low bands, you want to work dark to dark. Now what that means is, you like in this representation, for example, you want to work like South Africa, South America and Central America, because we're in dark to dark. If you want to work Africa, you're working dark to light. Doesn't work as well. Same thing, light to dark, doesn't work as well. You're better off working dark to dark or light to light. However, you can work. It just depends on what the propagation is. You want to give it your best chance. When you get on the radio and you want to start working somebody, you want to say, "Well, where do I work?" Well, you got to put a plan together. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you put a plan together and say, "What am I going to do? What's my best chance? What's the time of the day? What's the gray line and all this?" You got to think of these things and put them together and figure out a plan. Now, here's some points of interest. Radiation angle, that is where our antenna, whatever kind of antenna we've got, whether we've got a vertical, a dipole, or a Yagi, what's the radiation angle of this and where is it pointing? Well, it varies from band to band. You might have great radiation angle on 20 meters, but it doesn't work for beams on 80 meters. Same thing on 10 and stuff like that. I mean, it depends. So you kind of got to know. You talked to us about the modeling software a couple months ago. Yeah, that talks about radiation angle. So you look at what kind of antenna you got, put in your antenna in there, and it'll kind of tell you the radiation angle for the different frequencies, depending on the direction you want to work. Follow me? Okay. This is something that amazes me, and a lot of people did have a hard time believing it, but a radio signal will circumnavigate the Earth in 0.15 seconds, 7/10 of a second. I'm sorry, 1/7 of a second. A radio signal completely go around the world. That's how fast they are. Doesn't mean they're going to get to the location you want. But they can do that. This is, the bands may be open, but nobody's there to talk to. Don't be afraid to call CQ anytime, anywhere. This is what Chad was talking about. You look at the little charts there, the band's not open, so everybody goes away. One of the most difficult bands to work, especially when there's low sunspot cycles, is 10 meters. What contest do they have every year, John, in December? 10 meter contest. How can they have a 10 meter contest? They have it every single year. Every single year. High sunspots, low sunspots. And they have a very successful 10 meter contest. Why do you think that is?
Some testing causes propagation.
People aren't paying any attention to propagation, they're just calling. And I'll tell you, people are there. People are there, they're out there calling and doing stuff. And honestly, if you call, somebody's going to listen, somebody's going to hear you, if they're there. But that's just a fascinating thing, that 10 meter contest is so successful every year. If you can't get the contact, you're probably too far away for ground wave, but you're not far enough for skip. I've worked like 7Q Peak and a lot of local contests. From here on 15 meters, I can get all over the East Coast, clear down to Florida. I can't get Kansas for beans. Why is that? Going right over top of them. Going right over top of them. What you have to do then, if you're trying to work somebody out there but you can't get them, go that way. Maybe your skip will drop in on them going long path. Follow me? Because if you're going right over them short path, go the other direction, you might drop in on them long path. Or change antennas. Go to a vertical, go to a dipole, go to a Yagi, change antennas. Another thing that's really cool are beacons. How many of you are familiar with beacons? Good. Here's a picture of some of the most common beacons around the world. These beacons are on 20 meters, 15 meters, some 40 meters. You know, they're on different bands. But what happens is this beacon will go here, and it'll go here for about a minute, and then it'll go up here for a minute, then down here for a minute, then over here for a minute. And it just slowly does this, slowly moves, and it's giving out its code in Morse code, and it's giving a little beacon. Now, if you can watch this thing going, and you know, like Australia, the beacon in Australia is going off, and you can hear it, what do you learn from that? You got open communications in Australia, so you certainly ought to try and work it. If you see Australia going off and you can't hear it, you're probably wasting your time, because if you can't hear the beacon, you probably can't hear the thing. But that's, again, 50% rule. Okay, here are some doctrines of radio propagation. The ionosphere is a spherical shell all around the world. The ionosphere is smooth. The ionosphere is reciprocal. If I go out there, it's going to come right back to me exactly the same way. Propagation models reinforce this doctrine. Unfortunately, it's wrong.